How's it going, everybody? Welcome to OP Entertainment. I'm Omar Darwish.
And I'm Pratik Cherian.
And this is our review of Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1. Anything else?
I think you added the 7. I don't think it's actually in there. But yeah, it's
the 7th one.
It's a long title.
We're going to go spoiler-free on this.
Yes.
This is a movie that you have been anticipating very much.
I'm a big Mission Impossible fan. I love the franchise overall.
Yeah, I started with the 4th one and I loved it. I really enjoyed the 5th one. I didn't really enjoy the last one. This one is better. This one is better. I know you gushed about it more.
I was going to say, we're going to have to disagree on that because I love the 6th one.
Yeah, well, so did the whole world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it's quite to those heights. But I think, watching this movie, and I'm going to say something not at all about this movie, but It kind of made me appreciate Infinity War a little bit more because it made me realize how hard it is to do a movie that is automatically billed as a part 1.
As a part 1.
Like, what's the last, and even Infinity War didn't bill itself as a part 1. And, and kind of succeeded because it went away from like that sort of structure. But it's really, really hard to pull off a movie that when you walk into it, you're only getting the first half of the story.
Are you saying that because this did not fulfill that for you? Or is it because this, on top of Across the Spider-Verse, kind of felt too much like a part 1?
Yeah, okay. It's exactly that. I was thinking of Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm like, yeah, it's the part 1. And I think I don't know whether it's to its credit or not, but the fact that this one, like, part 1 is in the title, so you know that going in. I don't know if that helped or hurt, but I do think it kind of helped manage expectations a little bit.
Doing part 1 also. It's been a lot of part 1s lately.
A lot of part 1s, and I think for many of them, it's kind of like, okay, all right, like, I know that it's going to end on a cliffhanger, and, like, as you get the exposition and as you get the plot, you kind of, like, I don't know whether you did do this for movies, but in my head, I'm like, all right, like, this is where we're going to get the break. And that's kind of exactly what you got here. Is it exactly where you thought it was?
There's a line of dialogue in this movie I'm not going to say, but you probably know what I'm talking about, where they say a line, you're like, okay, so that's probably where this movie is going to end up, because they say it's only the beginning, right? Is when we get to this, it's only the beginning, right? Yeah. So that doesn't really spoil anything. But once you get to that point in the movie, you're like, okay, so now we're at only the beginning 3 hours later. I agree with you and I disagree with you, because I feel like, while it felt like not a complete thing, it felt to me like part 1 and 2 of a 3-part movie. Like, I really felt like...
Is that because it's 3 hours long?
It's so long, and there's so much in there, and I'm going to get into a little critique here, something I didn't love. I felt like almost every action sequence just like played out to the point where it should have, and then kept going for another at least 5 minutes. Each action sequence. And to add insult to it, this movie doesn't have a very unique, like, standout sequence at all for me. I
think if I had to gripe about that, people come to the Mission Impossible movies for the stunts, and they put the stunts in the trailers, but I think for this one more than anything else, like, the signature stunt, almost the entirety of it is in the trailer. And
for sure.
So I kind of think that's like, for people that are coming to this movie for the stunts and for the action, there's a lot in here and there's a lot you'll appreciate, but I do think that one, like, signature blow your mind moment isn't quite there because it's in the trailers.
So, okay, without just hating on it then, because I know you liked it more, what did you like about it? Because I feel like you're saying, like, okay, there's people that come to it for the stunts, right?
Yeah.
The stunts for me didn't really land. So if you came to it for the fun, I felt like this movie out of all of them had the least amount of fun.
I'll
it's
disagree.
Exciting at parts, and the tension is there, but it's not fun.
I thought it did a really, really good job of the tension, and maybe it's because of the types of movies that I've seen, but I also thought, like, while you may have felt the stunts were overly long, I did. Up until one particular scene in the third act, which I'm not going to say to avoid spoilers, but I really appreciated how the CGI in this is done to complement the action and not in place of the action.
Yeah, it's very minimal.
It's very, very minimal. And I really, really appreciated that, because I think that's sort of the thing that people miss in action movies. I think so many like summer Hollywood blockbusters are overly reliant on CGI, and that's not a new thing, but it's when you watch a movie like this that it's like a breath of fresh air. So even though you may have felt that the stunts were a little long, and I get that.
Well, because most of the stunts are just car chases.
You hate
and I hate car chases.
That's a you problem.
Here's what I'll say. A car chase scene has to be unique for me to appreciate it. And I've seen movies this year where there's car chase sequences that are good. I won't speak about them, but this did not have any of them. And every action sequence, it seemed like, had to have at least 1 or 2 car chase scenes in it, and they just really overstayed their welcome for me. Because it's like, okay, you're gonna have a car chase that we've seen a jillion times in a jillion movies.
I mean,
make it interesting at least.
It's an action movie. What do you want?
I'll say this really good thing about it. I thought the score to this movie was incredible because there's a lot of moments in this movie where people are just walking, there's no dialogue. They're in a boat, there's no dialogue. They're in a car, there's no dialogue. And for what feels like an eternity, but the music is what keeps it going from scene to scene for me. And without the music, this movie would be a lot of awkward nothingness.
I thought the movie did a great job of keeping the tension up and keeping it moving at least through the first act and a half. I think there's a moment in the middle of the second half that kind of bogs down.
Yes.
But I think the first act and a half was really, really well paced.
Okay, going by acts then.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree or disagree with you because I felt like the third act was so much better than the first 2 acts of this movie.
Ooh.
The second act is just boring. It's just plain boring.
I'll agree with that.
The
the
first
second
act
act
is
kind
fine.
of where this movie bogs down. I thought the first act did a good job of there's a lot of exposition there,
yes.
But again, it's part 1 of a 2-part finale, and it has to do the exposition of almost 2 movies.
And I like that, unlike the last movie, this one you can just jump in, never seeing a Mission Impossible movie, and you're good because of all the exposition.
Exactly, yeah. They do a good job of establishing, all right, who are these characters, what are their relationships?
You can't go from a exposition dump to just boring for what seemed like an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. Then once end of second act, there's a lot of like dialogue being thrown around and close-up camera angles between characters. I won't say what's going on. And I really loved like the decisions that had to be made and stuff between characters. That was really cool. Then it goes into this huge action sequence, which I thought was pretty good overall. And then the movie ends. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm excited to see the next one because I prefer this to the last one. Is that the overwhelming, like, go see this movie I wanted to come out of the movie, like, saying? No, but
I think if you're in the market for a summer blockbuster, I think this is a great one to go see.
I guess just depending on what you're looking for, you might get it out of this. It's not very fun, but it's exciting. It's an exciting action movie.
I think your level of fun might vary. I thought it was fun. I thought the first act especially was very fun.
Can we agree that none of the humor really landed, or at least you
can't
think some
agree
of the
on
humor landed?
Yes.
Okay, excluding anything out of Simon Pegg's mouth.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not fair. Excluding the funniest character,
All
where's the humor?
I'm saying is Tom Cruise doesn't have the charm to deliver humor.
Yeah, but that's not what he does. Like, his style of humor
Neither
is
does
very
Harrison
dry.
Ford. Him and Harrison Ford, they're leading men. You know, I get it. It's just not for me, I guess.
Yeah. Two of the 2 biggest
exactly,
two of the biggest movie stars of all time.
They're just not funny. They're just not funny, and like I just feel like the director, or did McQuarrie write this as well?
And directed, yeah.
Okay. I just feel like he maybe needed to hire some writers to punch it up a little bit, make it a little funnier. Like,
that's not what Tom Cruise. That's not what Tom Cruise does. That's not him.
Right.
You've got to play to the strengths of who you're working with.
Going back to like Ghost Protocol and Brad Bird, just watching the team's dynamic together, everyone's kind of like throwing jabs at each other. It was fun, and like Vin Rames is kind of funny in this. Simon Pegg's kind of funny in this, but like I know this isn't a comedy. I get it, but like I think a little bit of humor would have gone a long way making this movie not just exciting but fun.
I don't know. Yeah. I thought it was plenty fun. I appreciated it.
You wanna
talk about the plot super fast?
I hated the plot. If it makes okay. Have you seen any movie from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s that deals with computers are the enemy? That's what this is. Is that a spoiler? Because that's the plot. There you go.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it. If I had to compare it to something more than anything like that, I compare it to more of
like Superman 4, Quest for Peace.
I was going to say Person of Interest or Westworld Season 3, and it falls somewhere in the middle of those two as far as quality.
Okay.
But I don't know. I really like the plot. This movie's very exposition heavy, so I think that how much you buy into the plot is really going to impact how much you enjoy the movie. I
almost feel like you don't even need to know any of the exposition having to do with the plot. If you just know that AI is the enemy, that's all you really need. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why this movie, that's why I feel like it doesn't have the uniqueness that a Mission Impossible movie usually has. You know, and yeah, A little formulaic.
Actually, no, that was the third one, which you haven't seen. I was going to say there's one where they don't even explain what the MacGuffin does. It's just a MacGuffin. So I don't know what you're wanting when you're like, oh, they're unique plots. But anyway,
not just the plot. The movie itself is unique, and usually, and this just I felt like was so generic to the point where their villain is literally AI. And I'm like, okay, well, come on.
I mean, all right.
And you were talking about how it might be a very heavy-handed message Tom Cruise is hidden Hollywood with, but like. Is this not something that can happen behind closed doors, or does this need to happen? It's pretty obvious. Like everyone knows AI.
It's very much Tom Cruise as like the last action star, the last movie star.
Yeah,
and this is him like once again.
He wants to say he got his warning out there, right?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
He's the voice in the desert. You know.
I guess.
Yeah. All right. You want to score it?
I'm thinking 6. Okay. 6. I was leaning 7, but just the more I think about my gripes with it, and it's just getting too Fast and the Furious. I said this off camera, but like on a scale of like Baby Driver, John Wick action, and Fast and the Furious action, it used to be closer to this, and now it's just a little closer to the Fast and the Furious, maybe a lot closer to the Fast and the Furious. You love Fast and the Furious, so I'm not gonna yuck on your yums, as they say.
It's not at all the same thing.
It just
they're completely different categories whatsoever. It's a lazy comparison.
When you see this movie, you'll see that it's leaning more Fast and the Furious.
They both have cars in them. Yeah. Okay.
And very unrealistic scenarios that happen. And very Messiah-like lead characters who are being talked up a bunch and just are nothing. I'm sorry, but calm down. There's literally, in the beginning of the movie, this guy, I won't say word for word what he says, but when they're describing Ethan Hunt as an entity, they're like, make sure you shoot him 10 times, make sure he's dead, because this is Michael Myers we're talking about. He's coming back from the dead, this guy. Like, I'm like, I get it, but like they're doing a lot of show don't tell, and like
I feel like
and they don't follow it up with like him doing anything super badass.
They were doing show don't tell.
I would say so.
Oh, okay, all right.
You don't agree?
I mean, I tend to feel like movies should show and not tell, but all right, that's fine.
I'm sorry. They're doing tell don't show. Listen, I'm tired. I just watched like a 10-hour movie. Is what it feels like.
I think your subconscious was just fighting to get the truth
5.
out.
It's a 4 out of 10. It's gonna keep going down. What'd you think of this movie? Go ahead, give me a score. Give me your 10 out of 10. Let's call
no, it's not that. There's a lot of exposition. The second act bogs down. I acknowledge that. But overall, I thought it was fun. I thought it delivers exactly what you want out of an action movie. Waffling between a 7 and an 8. I'm gonna go 8. But if you find me in like 6 months and I say it's a 7, don't say I didn't warn you. I'll go 8.
I could see myself like rating this higher, watching it again later, but I don't know. I'm definitely gonna see it again because it is a spectacle movie, and I do want to see it on the big screen again while I have the chance.
I'm really glad we saw it in IMAX.
Yeah, if you were thinking about seeing it or waiting for streaming, just to see it on the big screen alone, I guess is worth it.
Yeah,
but it's not my favorite Mission Impossible. Maybe it'll be yours. Hopefully it'll be yours.
All right, you want to take us out?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week for what do we have? Barbie.
We have Barbie. We have Oppenheimer.
Barbie. We got Oppenheimer.
That's gonna be a late night for us.
It's gonna be a palate cleanser. I'll tell you that much.
You hate Nolan. What are you doing?
See you guys.